Oh my God, you guys, I am so excited about this episode. I have prepared such fire content for you guys. I feel like I have to give you some life updates first. Mason got a haircut today, and I feel like I don't recognize him. I'm like doing double takes every time I look at him, but he is so cute, and I held on to his puppy hair for way too long. He was so shaggy. I didn't even realize. But he's adorable. The sticker business is going great. I'm really getting to know my Cricut, getting to know my design. I'm doing everything by hand on my iPad, so it's definitely a journey, definitely a learning experience. Honestly, the Cricut is not that difficult to use. The printer is what's giving me agita. It's always getting messed up. I'm like, I don't like calling support. It's not in the cards for me. I'm email or robot chat all the way, but recently I've been having to go on the phone. So that's been annoying, but the sticker business is really fun, so it's worth it. Um, what else? I'm drinking a coffee. I got a Keurig, so I'm like half Nespresso girly, half Keurig girly now. The Keurig makes such weird noises. Like, why does no one talk about how weird it sounds? Is it just mine? I don't know. Keurig is weird. But I'm drinking a brown sugar oat milk, shaken espresso, homemade right now. You just put the brown sugar and cinnamon in your espresso shot, close your mason jar lid, shake it up, add the oat milk, add your cold foam. That's pretty much it. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm drinking. And I'm really, really, really excited for today's episode. So today is all about resting. Doing creative stuff can feel like a rest because you're like, okay, I'm going to take a break from the bookkeeping or from the marketing or the strategy, and I'm going to do something fun, like work on my offer. But that's not actual rest. So actually, today we are taking a clip from a client voice memo that I got in Telegram today. Um, well, I got the message is from a week or two ago, but we're pulling it in today for this specific episode because I know you guys have this problem too. And I know she's not alone in this, and it's going to be so helpful for you guys. So I'm really excited to turn it into a whole episode because this is something I could talk about for hours. So, finding peace through it all is one of the most challenging elements with our big goals because it is the last priority with the way that we've set up the world and the way we've set up our expectations and our goal tracking and our plans and looking at the future, our 5 year plan. Rest is not priority, peace is not priority. So that's why it's so challenging and that's why it becomes such a mental block. And in this era where we're all starting to prioritize our mental health and prioritizing meditation and manifesting and spirituality is so prominent right now in social media and in our communities, and it's so prevalent, and I love that so much, but it also is kind of a culture shock because it's not the way people have operated. So when you have conversations with like your parents or your grandparents or anyone who's generations older than you who grew up learning to always hustle, always work hard. Hard work never hurt anyone. And they're like, what do you mean you're taking a break? Don't you want to work hard during this time? Aren't your early 20s the time to establish your career and go full steam ahead and never give up, never look back, just hustle, 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 so that when you're 65, you can retire and go travel? And it's confusing, and it can be a lot of back and forth conversations where we're not really clear with each other, and that can cause a lot of imposter syndrome in your head where you're like, wait, am I allowed to rest? Is this resting okay? We have trained our brains to not prioritize rest because it doesn't produce anything tangible, and we don't see rest as the same thing as charging a dead phone. We see rest as prolonging the wait towards achievement and as a sign of weakness. We don't genuinely believe that rest makes the goals come faster. You might be affirming it, you might be trying to convince yourself of that, but do you genuinely believe, yes, when I rest in the middle of a project, when I take a day off, that makes my goals come faster? If you already do believe that, amazing. We're going to activate it even more. We're going to get deeper into the why that is and break any subconscious limiting beliefs you might have around that belief system already. But if you don't believe that and you really do struggle with allowing yourself to take rest days, take time off of social media, I'm here for you. We're doing it. We're getting into the logistic reasons, like literal, it's right in front of you, pen to paper, this is why, and also the mindset manifestation, bigger picture reasons. So I'm really excited for it because not resting does create a cycle of self sabotage, and you might not see it until you're already way too deep in it. So we're going to play a voice message that I received from this private client recently, and we've been working on releasing Hustle for almost a year of working together now, and this client has grown tremendously. She is seriously a different person than when we started working together, and she'll tell you, like, we literally don't recognize the person that started the first one-on-one program in April of 2023, but now here we are almost February of 2024, and she is literally a new woman. I'm so proud of her. But remember, alignment is not a final destination, so that's why we're still working together and we're always continuing to grow and change and shift her beliefs and allow her to grow. And trust me, this has allowed her to grow in so many new directions, open doors for new opportunities. It's so, so, so important to release that hustle. It can really hold you back. So, you know, it's all about the peace of mind, but what is the key to finding that peace? What is the key to actually embody peace and not just be affirming it, not just believing it, but not feeling it? You know, there's a difference between believing in something and really feeling it in your core. There are so many different ways to access that key to peace that we're going to talk about today. Remember, the absolute best thing you can do for yourself in this conversation is to make it a daily practice and make alignment your priority. We're going to talk more about that as we get into the episode. Key to Peace is actually one of our modules inside of Dynamic where we take an entire month dedicated to finding peace in every element of your business and your mindset. We have alignment labs, which are this really, really cool feature where we take the factors at hand, we put them into the laws of the universe or the intuitive strategy that we conducted on our live workshop, and we put the pieces together. It's truly so amazing. We are taking action on a call. You have your coach right in front of you, surrounded by all of the other group members, and we're taking these factors, we're taking these elements just like in a lab, and we're putting them into the puzzle. We're putting the puzzle together, and you're walking away from these labs feeling a difference, feeling a shift, and actually seeing things on paper or on your computer screen changed. And it's such a great feeling. And that's what Key to Peace is all about. Really taking these ideas that, like I said, you might believe it, but you don't really feel it, and putting it into your daily practice in your business and in your mindset to see those huge shifts and huge results. So if you want to apply for Dynamic or you want to learn more about it, you can apply in the description of the podcast. It's right down below, super easy link. But if you want to talk about it some more, there's so much involved in Dynamic. It's such a dynamic program. I mean, simply put, it is so freaking dynamic. It's an incredible experience. I'm obsessed with it if you can't tell. So if you want to talk with me about it, see if you're a good fit, you can send me a message on Instagram. We actually added a new payment plan. So you can get in for $333 US right now. So send me a message if you want to chat about it or apply in the link. So like I said, in this episode, we're going to be getting an insider's look at my response to a client's question in Telegram, which, by the way, you do have access to Telegram chats with me inside of Dynamic, just so you know. Wink emoji. I just know that she is not alone in this experience, and we need to put it into perspective here. So let's listen to that client's voice memo before we get into the episode.
Okay, so I kind of rested yesterday, but not really. And I just have a very hard time doing it because I'm like, I don't know. I mean, partly it's because my hobby would be music, even if I didn't work. So I didn't really do any work yesterday that was like really taxing, you know? I just did creation stuff, which feels like a rest because I have a really hard time like doing sedentary rest. It has to be kind of, in motion in some regard. So I don't know. I hope it's not still that leftover mindset that like I have to be productive at all times. It's not so much that. I'm just a little worried that like time's gonna run out still. Like, oh man, a week will go by, or a month will go by, or a year will go by, and like nothing will get done, and I'm still worried that I'm not, you know, accomplishing enough, not because I need like people's validation to do it and I value myself for it anymore. It's just like still I have big goals and I'm worried I will run out of time to do them, basically.
Welcome to Perspective with Kaylee Phillips, the safe space to get deep, break through, and find alignment. Here we prioritize wholehearted self-love, passion-driven careers, and living your absolute best life. You're here for a reason, so jump into the good energy, put your rose-colored glasses on, and tune in for massive impact and growth. I'm your host, KP, ready to release perfect and welcome perspective. So we're going to touch on these 3 points that my client mentioned in the voice note. An amazing voice note, so well communicated, and I know she's not alone in that experience. So if you've been feeling anything that she's saying, you have that validation, you're not alone. So the first thing we're going to talk about is rest. We're going to break down all the different levels of rest. Then we're going to talk about that external validation she slightly mentioned in there. And then we're going to talk about running out of time. So here we go. First, let's talk about rest. I think the first one is, how do you know it's time to rest? Because that's what happens. That vicious self-sabotage cycle You don't even realize you need to rest until it's like way too far gone and you're like, oh shit, I'm burnt out. I need to rest for 3 weeks. I need to not post on Instagram. I need to ghost all of my accounts. I need to put myself in my room and like never leave for a really long time. We don't realize how far it's gone until it's too late. So, how do you know intuitively when it's time to rest? I'm going to use a little bit of a goofy analogy here. Have you ever read on your period tracker app when you're supposed to change your tampon? I remember one time I was on, I think I used Flow at the time. I track on my pen to paper now, but I used Flow, and there were these quizzes you could take to see like how in tune you were with your cycle and whatever. And one of the questions was, how do you know it's time to change your tampon? And the options were like every 30 minutes, every hour, every 4 to 6 hours, or whenever I feel like it's time. And I voted whenever I feel like it's time. And it was wrong. And the right answer was no, it's supposed to be every 4 hours. This is the same thing with rest, okay? This might be a stretch, but I also feel like it could be dead on. If it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, whatever. I'm sticking with it. I'm proud of it. I know that rest needs to be one of those things that is built in, and eventually you'll learn to trust your intuition. But at first, build it into your day every 4 hours or every 3 hours or every freaking hour. There was a time that I took a break every hour, and that was one of the most productive times of my whole business because that's what worked best for me. That's what I needed. And I built it in. It wasn't a question mark. It wasn't like, all right, I'm just going to work, and then when I need to rest, I'll rest. 6 hours later, why am I still sitting here? I haven't even gotten up to stretch my legs. I haven't even drank water. No, it needs to be built in. It's one of those things that if you're someone who struggles with taking rest, put it on the to-do list just the same as building out the content for the day or checking in with your clients. Check in with my clients, post for today, rest. Get away from my computer, get away from the workspace. Even if it's a 5 minute rest, it is built in and it's not something you can skip because you wouldn't just skip over checking in with your clients because, like, whatever. No, it's on the list. It's same priority. Okay, so that's how we know it's time to rest. It is time to rest when the calendar or when the to do list says it's time to rest. Don't keep pushing and pushing until you feel like, okay, now I deserve a rest. It's not something you deserve, it's just something that's there. Now, this leads me to my next question. How do you know that you've rested enough? This one, I'm going to use a kind of an opposite analogy here. Coffee. When you make a coffee, there's a reason, right? That's like, we can talk about the habit cycle of like the trigger and then the action. We'll talk about that in another episode. That could be broken down into like such a deep conversation. But when you make a coffee, it's for one of two reasons. I'm usually the latter. You either need energy or you want a cute little drinkity. But whatever it is, you have a trigger, you get your coffee. If it's the low energy one, you take your first sip. If you don't feel high energy, do you go back and immediately make another coffee because you're like, this isn't working, I need more? No, you finish it, and even after you finish it, if it didn't work, you don't feel the immediate energy, do you go back and make another one right away? You let it sit in, right? We don't immediately try to replenish and get more and more because we kind of trust that it's going to work. Even if you start getting into your work while the coffee is on your desk, you're slowly drinking it, the energy is building up. It's one of those things, right? So that is why the resting kind of needs to be trusted too. And now, like I said, intuition is something that grows over time. So I think there's a lot of noise about like trust your intuition, but sometimes when we've silenced our intuition for so many years, it's not something that can just be like peaked right back up to front runner in our minds. It needs to be something that's built, and we need to rebuild that trust with our intuition, rebuild the connection with our inner voice. If you've been silencing your inner dialogue and just doing whatever you think you're supposed to do, doing what everyone else is doing, your intuition is quiet in the back of your mind. We need to rebuild her. We need to reactivate her, and we need to lead her in the right direction and give her some time, right? So, in the beginning phases of reactivating your intuition, that's why we need to create some guidelines. We need to create a foundation that we can lean into and say, okay, this feels good. Then your intuition learns to trust what feels good, and then that's how we raise that volume. So, with resting, how do you know you've rested enough? We're going to talk about the different types of resting, and you'll start to get what I mean. Okay, so first of all, there's napping. 10 to 20-minute power nap, if you want to increase your concentration and energy, is great. Like, leave the workspace, take a 15-minute nap, come back. You've rested enough if you're looking for concentration and energy. 10 to 20 minutes, that's it. Now, the 30-minute nap is where it starts to get dangerous because that's the one that can make you feel like you're lagging and it's like, where am I? So that one I would avoid. I mean, you know your body better than I do, but for me at least, 15-minute timer, I feel great after that 15-minute nap. I can come back to my space and I know that I've rested enough because I trust that 15 minutes. Even if it takes me a little while to get back into my zone, I trust that that 15 minutes is good. What doesn't work is when you take that 15-minute nap, you wake up, like the timer goes off, and you immediately are like, nope, not enough. And you press it again and you give yourself another 15. You're like, okay, I just need another 15. You keep doing that over and over again. That's a habit loop. And you definitely could have gotten enough rest after that first 15 minutes, but you didn't even give yourself a chance to get up, shake it off, see some sunshine, and go back to your desk and see how it feels. And this is going to be a great tool for activating your intuition. So avoid the 30 minutes, trust the 15 to 20-minute nap, see how it feels before you already try to reset, hit the snooze, and then we get to that 60-minute nap. So, like a 1 hour nap is great for a reset, I would say. So, that's like if you're halfway through a workday and you're like, wow, I'm really needing to just refresh, reset, and I'm tired. Like, that's kind of a Monday vibe. 60 minutes is great for memory. So, like before a test or before you want to come back, like maybe you just did a really great coaching call where you broke down strategy for your offer. You're tired, you go take a 60-minute nap, then you come back and your memory is like really activated to go into everything you talked about on that strategy call and then start creating content without having to be like, okay, what did we talk about? Where am I? What am I doing? You'll have really great activated memory. Also, good before a test or something. Like if you're in college and you take a 1 hour nap before going to take a test or going to take a final or logging on for a test, whatever it is. So that's your 60-minute nap. And then your 90-minute can literally represent a full sleep cycle. You can dream, and I mean, you can dream in a short nap too, but those dreams can kind of feel freaky because it's like you're not fully in your REM. So it's like, where's reality? Crazy. What is dreaming about? You know, one day I would love to bring someone on here who is a dream expert or like studier and can talk to us about dreams because I want to know what you guys think. You guys should tell me what you think about dreams. Are they like just the subconscious mind putting together pieces of your day, or do you think you go somewhere where you dream? Super curious what you guys think. Anyway, 90 minutes is a full sleep cycle. So if you're like beat and you need to go nap 90 minutes, that is like the equivalent to going to sleep fully. So my point in this is if you are having a great workday and you just need to rest, you just need to reset, you just need to reactivate your concentration and energy, and you go for that 15 minutes and trust it, you know you've rested enough, come back to your workspace. Then let your intuition lead. Learn to let your intuition learn, let your intuition speak. If you've come back after that 15 minutes and you're feeling low again, then you can go back and try again, try to reset, but give yourself a chance to see how you feel before you just hit that snooze right away, because that's where we start to create those habit loops and we don't feel good about our rest. And then what happens is you create so much resistance to the rest and you tell yourself, I can't rest anymore because you keep hitting the snooze or you keep going on your phone instead of coming back to work. And then after eventually like 2 hours or an hour, hour and a half, whatever it was, the whole rest of the day, then you're so mad at yourself, you're so annoyed and you're frustrated and you're like, why didn't I get back up? I can't rest anymore. I can't let myself rest. You know, we create that resistance. So that's why I really want to empower you to trust that 15-minute nap. Now, this is if napping works for you. I just talked about napping for probably 20 minutes alone, but that's just if napping works for you. Some people, a lot of my clients can't nap. Like, doesn't work. I sleep at night. That's it. So there's other ways that you can rest your body and your mind without actually sleeping. So movement can be rest if it's your mind that needs rest. So for me, I like to close my laptop and go stretch or go do a quick like 20-minute power yoga or go for a walk. These are all really great ways to rest your body. This reminds me also, when you leave your desk space, I think it's really, really helpful to close out what you're doing fully because that really ties into the segment intending that I believe I've talked about on here at some point, where you set intentions for each piece of your day. I'm driving, I'm setting the intention for this drive, that it's a safe drive. I got to my destination, I'm setting my intention for going into this place. I'm here now, this is my intention. I'm leaving, you know, you're always setting new intentions. It helps you really stay present in the moment. So if you're leaving all your tabs open and walking away, leaving your laptop open, leaving your screens on, it kind of leaves it unfinished. So if you can finish whatever you're working on, finish this task, or just complete this cycle that you're in, take a moment to close it out, even take a moment to reflect on what you've done so far and reflect on what you're going to do when you come back, close everything down and leave. Oh my God, so much better for productive rest because you're really leaving this intention and setting a new one instead of just leaving all these doors half open. Okay, another form of rest that I really recommend is just changing your environment. And this is a way to not really rest your body, but just rest your mind. Sometimes when we're really locked into a certain space, it can start to make us feel a little bit crazy. Like if you watch Gilmore Girls, when Paris became the editor of the Yale Daily News, and she made that like little cove for herself with all the, like she was, if you know, you know, but she was like so locked in that it made her crazy. So sometimes we need a change of environment, and that will just give us all the rest that we need. So some ways to change your environment: the place that you're at, from work desk to coffee shop. You can also look at your human design and see what type of environment you thrive in the most. Remember, it's not actually about the environment that it says, it's what that environment represents. So if you don't already know, look up your human design and see where you thrive. Really cool to learn about. For me, coffee shops are so great, but not in the sense of like always being in a conversation actively, but just knowing that humanity is happening around me, and like the slight hustle, like hustle and bustle of like noises and people and conversations around me, but I'm locked into my zone, is a perfect workspace for me. Um, so it's really interesting to see where you thrive. Anyway, changing your environment, like where you are, but also changing your lighting can really help. And something I recommend is changing your lighting with your task. I've done this before and it was really cool. It was when I first started my business, whenever I worked on the Glow Up program. I might have talked to you guys about this before already, but whenever I worked on the Glow Up program, I made the room purple. Like I took my Govee light and put it straight up on purple. So the whole room felt purple. Like there was no, like even my skin looked purple. And I played the Adult Swim intro track on loop. It was like a 10-hour loop on YouTube. And that was my environment for the Glow Up program. I know it sounds crazy, but it worked for me because I was able to lock in. And it was like I was tricking my mind into knowing, like it was like switching my focus to like, okay, this audio and this visual equals Glow Up program. And it was like all my ideas snapped back to me and I was fully present. And if I worked on my bookkeeping and I worked on my team management and I worked on the Glow Up program all in the same environment, I don't think I could. I don't know. It just doesn't speak to me right now. Like even now, I have a different environment for everything I do, and it helps me focus so much more. So like I said, lighting and audio, and even just the transition period between, like I said, coffee shop and house, or changing the lighting, can act as your rest because it's like a refresh, you know? So that's a really great option. Don't let yourself just sit in the same chair, in the same lighting, in the same posture for your entire workday, especially if you work at home running your business. There's no reason to do that. You have a beautiful desk, or you have your bed, or you have your kitchen table. There's different places you can go, enjoy it. And even if you have a whole at home office, you can put like a cute beanbag chair, you can put a little day bed, you can have different chairs that you rotate through. Who cares? The world is your oyster. You don't have to follow any like perfect rules. Just because there's a standard way that an office is supposed to look doesn't mean that's how yours has to look, right? So, change up your environment is a great way to reactivate yourself, recharge yourself, and get a little bit of a rest from the work mentally. Um, and then also change of focus can act as rest. So you might have remembered in the voice memo, she said doing creative stuff feels like a rest because she has a hard time doing sedentary rest. It has to be in motion, and I think that's a mindset block in itself that we talked about at length. But um, in general, if you are someone that likes to keep it moving throughout the day, that's not a flaw. While I do recommend taking some moments to just be present and be with yourself and be silent and put your phone away and put the noise away, I do understand wanting to keep your body moving. So, change of focus in general in the middle of your workday, just breaking it up, running an errand, playing with your dog, taking your dog for a walk, cooking a meal, not eating your meals at your desk can really, really help because you're going to come back as a new person. And I think this is really important for us to talk about together because we really do need to see the rest as recharging your phone. Right now, we see rest as prolonging that wait. We see it as a sign of weakness. We need to genuinely believe that the rest is helpful. So, this is my next point here. How do you turn off your brain during rest? I think this client and a lot of my other clients, and I'm sure a lot of you tuning in here, have mentioned, sure, I rested. I did the physical thing. Like I laid on the couch, I chilled out, I did a Sudoku. Like I did something that if you're watching me from above, it looks like I did great. I checked rest off my list, but my brain is still going during the rest. I'm still thinking about work. I'm still thinking about my to do list and my goals. And it's almost like I got less rest, and it would have been better if I just kept working because my brain is thinking that I'm resting. So, this is why it's so important for you to really activate and feel that belief that it is productive, like charging your phone. So think about it in a real world situation. Before you go to a concert, before you go out for the night, you make sure that you charge your phone. What kind of phone charger are you? Are you the type of person that lets your phone go all the way down to 1% and then you plug it in at the last moment? Or are you the type of person that lets your phone die and like puts it away? Like if it's dead, like who cares? It died while I'm out, who cares? Are you the type of person that always keeps your phone charged? Like if you see it's at 74%, you just plug it in? What type of phone charger are you, and how do you think this reflects into how you charge your physical body? Oof, I just thought of that right now, but I'm really curious. You guys reflect on that. I could go on so many different tangents of how they mirror each other and what that means. And oh my God, there's so many levels to that, so many layers. Um, but yeah, you reflect on that. What kind of phone charger are you, and how does that mirror the way that you charge your physical vessel and the way you charge yourself up for work and the way you prioritize taking that moment to just leave yourself to rest? Do you oh, that's another question I have for you in regards to your phone. Do you leave your phone charging and walk away, or are you the type of person to grab a charger and bring it to wherever you are and keep being on your phone while it's charging? Interesting. So many different parallels we can pull here. If you end up doing that, please send me a message on Instagram and I want to talk to you about it. Like, continue the conversation with me. I love when you guys do that. We're going to move on into the external validation because all of these pieces are really going to tie together here. And I want to keep your brain moving and keep us going on this conversation. So, the external validation point of it, she mentioned in the voice message that this kind of becomes a mental block. And we've talked about this before in our container. But she looks for that external validation, and sometimes that acts as a block to the rest in itself because it's like, well, if they saw me resting, they would think I'm not doing enough. And I need everyone to see that I'm doing good and I'm always moving the needle and I'm always achieving something. And if I show them, oh, I rested, no one's going to care for that. So at the end of the day, external validation will get you nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. And you need to fully believe that and understand why it's so true. Think of whose opinions matter in your life genuinely. It's okay for other people's opinions to matter. Whose opinions matter, and do those opinions fuel you, energize you, and boost you up to be the best version of yourself you can be in the most pure sense of the phrase. The best version of yourself in mind, body, spirit, energy, happiest version of yourself, not most successful. So, those people's opinions that matter to you in your life, do they fuel that vision of the best, happiest version of you? If you don't believe that they do, we either need to have a conversation with those people about the way that their opinion is negatively impacting you, if their presence in your life really means something, if it's like a parent or someone close to you, if their silent opinion or outspoken opinion is having an impact on the way that you take action, it's time for a conversation of healing, or it's time to reconsider your circle. Because remember, you're a reflection of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you don't want to be absorbing that energy, it really doesn't belong to you. And there's no rule book that says these certain people have to stay in your life no matter what, no matter how negatively they impact you. So, yeah, really ask yourself whose opinion matters and how does that fuel you? You either get to prove them right or prove them wrong. And this has so many levels to it because if you have people around you that believe in you wholeheartedly, I surround myself with people that make me so excited to show up to work and make me excited to rest because I know that the rest will be supported. I know that if I told anyone in my circle I need a rest day, they would fully support me in that. When I tell them about my goals, they fully support me in them. And I get to prove them right. because they believe in me. On days that I don't believe in myself as much, on my lower days, I can go to the people in my circle and I get to prove them right at the end of the day because they told me you got this. Or there's people that are hating, there's people that don't believe in your goals, people that think you're crazy, and you get to prove them wrong. But ask yourself, are you proud and are you happy with what's being proved in your circle? Is there someone so close to you who you are trying to prove wrong? Because that can become such a toxic cycle and really get in the way of you prioritizing yourself and prioritizing your rest. If there's a parent or a close friend or a partner who doesn't believe in you and you're working hard towards these big goals and you have this big vision board, and in the back of your mind, on this subconscious level, all of this is just to prove them wrong, that can become so toxic and it's really getting in the way of your intentions, of your motives, of your true passion. It's all just so cloudy. So we need to make sure that your environment and your people and your community are so positively fueling you and they all want the best for you. So that's really, really important. And then another thing you can ask yourself is, are they seeking my validation? And if they are, what are you giving them, right? Like, what are you giving to them if they're seeking your validation? So at the end of the day, a perfect, a really perfect, which no relationship is perfect, and that's the beauty of life, right? Because we get to be in each other's lives to teach each other lessons and show each other, we have people in our lives for a reason, for a season, or for a lifetime, right? That's what it is. So these people in your life, it's always imperfect, but in a perfect world, in your relationships, you are both fulfilled by yourself, and then you get to come together and bask in your fulfillment. You don't need someone else to fulfill you. You are happy with yourself, you're fulfilled by yourself, and then someone gets to come in and be a part of that energy and be a part of that space with you. So essentially, you shouldn't be seeking validation from anyone. But if someone else in your world who you're stressing about their external validation, are they seeking your validation? If they are, how are you responding to that? And if they're not, then why are you seeking theirs? So just some questions to raise about the whole validation conversation. And hopefully, this helps you get some clarity on the people that you're letting influence your goals and influence your action. Now, if the external validation is more on a visibility scale, on a wide scale, like if you're trying to go viral on TikTok or blow up on any social media platform, or if it's about like client perception in general, remember that you are a reflection of the energy that you put out. All of the energy you put out is what you attract. So as long as you are being your most authentic, pure self, and you are in tune with who you are, and you're proud of who you are, and you're being authentic in that, you're not trying to put on any facade, you're not putting on a mask, you're not trying to be what other people are, like you see another person in your industry who you think does well and they make good money and they have a lot of client retention, they have great testimonials, so you're trying to replicate them. That's a really scary area to go down because then you're not being true to yourself, you're not being authentic, and again, the intention is lost, the reason is lost, your why is lost. So as long as you are being your true authentic self and being so transparent in the message, in the vision, in the way you show up, and going down your own path, allowing yourself to innovate, allowing yourself to create your own industry and not just follow in the lines of someone else, you are going to be amazing. And then remember also, here's my last point in the validation conversation. If everyone liked you, you're doing something wrong. Because if everyone who knows you likes you, it means you have nothing to say. There needs to be conversation, something to say. If you don't have anything to say, then sure, everyone's just like, yeah, they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them, but there's also nothing great about them. You have a platform. As an entrepreneur, you have the opportunity to put your voice out there, and you have a beautiful voice that needs to be heard. So let your voice be heard. Let there be controversy. Let there be haters. If you have people that don't resonate with your content, that means there's people who really, really resonate with your content because we thrive on this polarity. We thrive on this. As humans, we crave that balance. So if everyone likes you, it's because you're boring. You want people to disagree with you. It's a gift, that balance, because that means your community, the people that do resonate with your message, the people that are always tuned into what you have to say, are so locked in. And that means you have an incredible community and you're doing something right. Okay, now we're going to touch on this third point here. running out of time. So, essentially, with this conversation of I'm scared I'm going to run out of time, I have so many goals and I'm scared I'm not going to have enough time to complete all of them. If you are living every single day to the fullest, you are in the right place because life is not about a finish line. What's the point of setting goals? If your point in setting goals is to achieve them and to have something to check off, have a trophy to put on your dresser or wherever you keep your trophies or your mental awards, your mental milestones, something's out of alignment because the point of setting goals is the journey, it's the process, it's the growth, it's the way that you're going to become a better person. It's the way you get to show up to something every day, something to motivate yourself towards, the impact that you get to make on the world, the impact you get to leave on the world. It's not about the finish line. So who cares if you, quote, run out of time? Because what is this world anyway? We have no idea. No one knows the answers. I don't know the answers. We don't know what happens after this life. But what I do know is this isn't it. This isn't it, right? So I'm going to enjoy every single moment. I'm going to learn lessons. I'm going to be so grateful for those lessons. I'm going to have my bad days. I'm going to have my good days. And I'm going to be in the present moment. I'm going to cry it out. And I'm going to be present when I cry it out. I'm going to rest. And I'm going to be present when I rest. I'm going to live every single day to the absolute fullest. Every single emotion I feel in its fullest, most pure form. Nothing is rushed. I am living in the present moment because it's not about a finish line. It's about right now. Your practices are really put to the test when you're out living life because you can sit and listen to this and be so in tune with me and like, yes, I'm on top of the world. When you're in a quiet space, you're meditating or when you're journaling or whatever it is that you're like fully present in this conversation, you can feel great. You're like, yes, I can do this. I can dominate. But then when you actually go out into life and have bad days and go to the store and go to the concert and go to work at your desk, that's when your trust and your genuine intentions are put to the test because you're actually putting yourself out into the world and you're putting all of it into the simulation or whatever you want to call it. You're really trying to, like an alignment lab, you're putting it into the factors, you're putting it into the world and seeing what comes out. It's totally different to think about all these things with me and be present on this podcast episode and then go out into the world and go on a lunch date with your parents and go travel and go to the store and buy your groceries and still be present in the moment that everything's happening for a reason, that you're in your divine balance, you're pursuing your passion. It's a different world when you're really out there doing it. So this is why I encourage you to be segment intending, setting your intentions for everything you go into, and set your intentions with these goals, not to complete the goal, but to enjoy the process. So that way, even if the goal doesn't come for 20 years, who cares? It's about the journey and you're learning so much. And if it doesn't come for 20 years, that's because it wasn't meant to come for 20 years. It wasn't meant to. There were lessons to be learned. There were things to work through. There were people to meet, things to see, ways to grow. And the person that you are in 20 years when that goal comes, it comes to fruition exactly when it's meant to. When you fully are able to believe that and be present in that belief, it is so much more fun to work towards these goals. That is all I have for you guys today. I hope this was a helpful perspective shift. Remember, the major perspective shift of this conversation is rest is just as productive as anything else, and it does belong on your to-do list. And you will watch yourself grow and enjoy the growth so much more when you prioritize the separation and the balance of work and rest. Thank you for tuning in to Perspective with KP. Let's connect with each other on Instagram and TikTok at Align with KP. Download my free masterclass to kickstart your alignment journey in the episode description. Shout out to Michelle Kreber for producing our music. Keep choosing you and keep choosing alignment. See you next time. Love, KP.